Guys, welcome back to another episode of 4 to 4. This week we have an episode with Will Kraft. Will Kraft is a smaller outside with a crazy vertical. He was really under recruited and ended up playing Division III at Carthage. Went through a crazy path in terms of professional and has really a wild story. He goes into his time in Estonia, getting released from there, time in Denmark, leaving early, going back to Denmark, and then ends up finding his way all the way to the first Bundesliga Germany, which, as most people know, is a really strong league, and it's really impressive for him to kind of make those jumps. Will's a really smart guy. He's got a lot of knowledge and crazy talented on the court. He's currently going to be playing with Chicago Icemen in the VLA in the U.S. He's coaching out at Carthage now and doing his GA, so listen up and hope you guys enjoyed this episode with Will. Hey man, what's up, Will? How you doing?
Hey guys, I'm doing all right. Just hanging out here in the office. So it's awesome to finally be able to talk to you guys about some volleyball. I've been following along for quite a while, and so I'm stoked to finally be on the show.
We appreciate it, man. It's really good to have you on here. We've been talking about getting you on for quite some time, so glad we finally got it to happen. Disclaimer, just moved in a new apartment, so apologize for the background mess. And there's a dog here that is very anxious, so you might be barking, so bear with me, guys.
No worries.
Yeah, for sure. But so Will, you said that you're in an office. Obviously, you're now the GA over at Carthage, for anybody who's listening that doesn't know, back at your alma mater after long career. So why don't you let us know, give us some insight into your career, how you got started, things like that.
Yeah. So it really all started in high school, like with most the young volleyball players. The local club, Ultimate Volleyball Club, was kind of big in my area, and a friend of mine from high school joined, and so I was like, I might as well do it too. Kind of from there, I fell in love with the game, and I actually started out as a setter, which is a funny thing. I cannot set anymore, no matter how many times I tell you it, but I can't set. But I used to be a setter, and then I realized I could jump, and then they moved me to outside, and then just kind of improved ever since then. Going kind of through the recruiting process, I knew didn't want to go too far away. I'm not super homebody. I don't need to be living at home, but I also didn't want to go across country. So really the options that I had were, here at Carthage, St. Ambrose, Louis, Loyola, and back in the day, I wasn't getting the looks that I wanted to from Louis and Loyola originally, and Carthage just seemed like a good fit. The original and previous coach here, who I had, LJ Marks, recruited me to come here, and it was ever since I stepped foot on campus, I knew it was the right decision. We're right on the lake. As a freshman, you walk out of your dorm on September morning, and you got the lake sitting there 100 feet away. It's gorgeous. I couldn't want anything else here. It's perfect. But it's kind of a long road to get onto the court. We had a bunch of good outsides that were older than me and more experienced, and so when my turn finally came, my senior year in college, I took the biggest advantage I could and ended up having a good season. Helped lead the team to 27-1 record. We didn't lose any Division III teams. The only loss we had was to Lindenwood, and that was the second match of the season. And then unfortunately, we kind of blew it in the national championships, losing in the first round, which is a bit unfortunate. Not how you want to go out your senior year, but such is life, That season really helped me get my first contract, and it wasn't necessarily a contract. This team in Estonia a year later really just said, "Hey, we need an outside, fly out," and so I flew out, and I loved the team. They liked me, but unfortunately, they had two middles get hurt, and so they needed to sign another middle. And I was the fourth outside at the time, the newest guy, the only one of 3 foreign players. And so I was unfortunately in the chopping block on that one. So I got sent home. Then it took another after that season. That's when I finally got my first contract in Denmark, which was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. I know you've played in the Danish league before, and there's varying levels of different types of volleyball, right? There's the
for sure.
there's the Carthage level, which treat their their team and how their organization very professionally. Yeah. And then it ranges all the way down to, I don't want to name any names here, but the ranges down to like beer league teams. So,
yeah.
But the club that I've joined was super professional, very nice people, the nicest people that I met in Europe so far. They're amazing. They're like a second family to me. Especially during my first season, I ran into some unfortunate circumstances back home, kind of some issues that I had to take care of. So, but they said they gave me as much time as I needed and said, go home, come back when you're ready. We'll be here for you. We're waiting for you. And that's why I chose to go back a second season. I had a very successful first season. Personally, was voted one of the top outsides in the league, and then helped lead the team a second season to a silver medal throughout the season, and then a bronze medal in the cup. I believe we would have taken first overall if COVID didn't shut it down, but that's, we will never figure that one out for sure.
I heard, yeah. I was told the same thing from guys in Denmark, that they thought you guys were going to take the cake too. So if that, we had a squad, man. We had we had 3 other Australians. We had a young Australian coach who's now the head coach for the youth program for Australia's national youth program. So he's their head coach now. He's really good. Our other outside, Malachi Murch, he's playing in Freiburg right now. So in the same league as you, but I just think there's another conference. Another division, yeah.
Yeah. So they're in the other side from you, but he's in Germany as well. And then the other 2 guys are still playing back home in Australia, still training at the AIS, which is like their development center, which is pretty cool. I mean, I've met some crazy good people there. And then fortunately, I got the call to, it was funny because I told myself I was done after my second season in Denmark, and I got a job in Chicago, got an apartment there. And one day I'm just working from my apartment and I get a text from the SVG Lüneburg coach. Said, hey, do you want to come play? Hour later, I said yes. 2 days later, I put my 2 weeks in and I was off to play in the Bundesliga. And had a really good season there. It was fun. I learned so much, not only as a player, but as a person, like especially during COVID, because the regulations were very strict in Germany last year. So there was not really much to do, I had it was video games, reading, eating, sleeping, playing volleyball. That's what I did for 8 months. And which wasn't bad. I got to know my teammates really well. Some of those guys are going to be some of my best friends and some good people that I'll be able to talk to about really anything for a long time, if not the rest of my life. So I'm very happy that I did that. And then fortunately, there's new head coach, or fortunately I got the offer to be the new GA here at Carthage. And just after a season in Germany, it just took kind of a bit of a mental toll on me. It's time to be home for a bit. I've been to 5 weddings so far. Since August. Got 1 more in December, and they're for all people that I love and that I hold dearly in my heart. So I'm very happy with where I am. I've been able to see now 5 of my close friends get married and enjoy, their lives, and I'm so happy to be a part of all that. And I love it here at Carthage, man. This is my second home. I can't complain. New head coach here, J.W. Kiekefer, played at IPFW for a while, coached there. What's his record? He only has 3 total losses in 2.5 years of coaching here. And last year led now the Carthage Firebirds to an undefeated season, 23-0, and a national championship victory. First one in Carthage volleyball history. So I'm very proud to be back here. Hopefully I can, for the next 2 years, I can bring some knowledge I learned. But I was previously here at Carthage.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah, some knowledge from Europe. Exactly. So it's just kind of taking everything that I've learned and that I've experienced over these past 4 years of attempting to play overseas and bringing it all and hopefully to shed some light into the new age of volleyball, because the game's changing. And so we're just trying to stay ahead of it.
Very cool, man. That's a lot to unpack. Very storied career right there. So let's bring it back to high school, I guess.
Yeah, I got one from high school too. So you go ahead.
So did you play some other sports prior to getting into volleyball, or I'm sure you did. You're super athletic, so.
I mean, growing up in my area, everybody played baseball and soccer and football and basketball and all that. But I was before I decided to pursue volleyball in college, I was deciding whether or not I wanted to play soccer in college. So I played travel club. Right, I did it all. High school, travel club, up until I was about 17, and then I grew. So I was about 6'2" when I turned 18. But when I was 15 or 16, I was only about 5'9", 5'10". So I had this big growth spurt in about a year and a half. And everybody stayed short in soccer, and they were fast, and I wasn't. And then I learned how to jump, and volleyball seemed like just like the practical thing for me.
I was gonna say you talked about setting, and then you figured out you could jump, and you started hitting. And I mean, obviously playing in first Bundesliga is a very good and competitive league, going that kind of record. And I've seen you play an outdoor, and you do have like a pretty wild vertical. So would yours be, and honestly, were you just one of those guys that just came, like you just jumped out of nowhere, or did you do like a training that did it? Or was it like, man, you just walked in and you could just jump one day, like something just clicked?
A little bit of both. It came when I going into my 17th club season at Ultimate. They did a Vertec in tryouts, and I've never really done a Vertec before. Like this was kind of like my first attempt at it, and I jumped, and my first jump I was like 10, 11 and a half, and everybody kind of looked and said, "What the heck? What just happened?" I'm looking around like, what did I do? I don't know what I just did. I just jumped and touched some things, and in high school, you didn't really lift weights too much. I mean, I would go every once in a while with some friends and go work out, but I wasn't really ever on a jump training program. And so in high school, it was kind of just happened. And then once I got to college, was kind of the wake up call. It's like, okay, now everybody touches here. Even Division III in our gym, where they're big boys. Like Carthage is known to have some massive dudes in the gym. And so it's like, okay, well, now I need to actually work out and learn how to jump higher and take care of my body, because it's not just how strong you are, it's how mobile you are, how flexible you are, how healthy your knees are and your joints are. Because if it's all, you could squat 800 pounds, but if you can't touch your toes, if you can't sit-in style, you're not going to be able to move. It's not going to be comfortable. So so that took a lot of work, was not only the strength, but the mobility and the body maintenance.
Yeah,
it's
mechanics, a ton of mechanics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
because it's I do get up there, but then it's a long way down. So I definitely had my fair share of knee and ankle problems.
What is your vertical like topped out at? What was like the highest you touched, and what was the inch conversion?
I think it was at one point, I think I touched with like the little clip that comes on. I know it's not the most accurate, but I think it equated out to 11.7. It's like 11 and a half-ish. That's probably where my first season in Denmark, that's probably where I was closest to. And then I kind of dropped off a little. I had some really bad knee problems my second season in Denmark. But then in Germany, I kind of turned that around. So I probably got back up to over 11.6 in Germany, if not at 11.6.
That's sick. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely tough. It's something that every volleyball player, especially as an attacker. I mean, setters and liberos have their own issues, but as an attacker, especially when you got a max jump and fly in, and as a middle like Callaway, you're jumping like every single ball. Like it's brutalizing. And especially, I think it also like, especially for smaller guys, because obviously the difference between where your feet leave the ground versus where they land and all that comes into play. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. Like we had Blake Leeson on too, and he talks about the same stuff, knees, same things, mobility, and it's crazy how much mobility can affect it.
Yeah. Every time I play, do a little 10-minute yoga session just to get my body moving, get it not just stretched out, but activate the muscles. That's my big thing now before I play. I can't just stretch or do dynamic stuff. I have to to activate muscles. I have to get my muscles ready to take that impact. So I'm old now. I'm 28, so I gotta.
I feel it, man. I feel it too. It's a process. It's been a process for a long time. When I was playing pro, it was like, all right, practice ends. All right, now I got to start preparing for the next one.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And that's just how it goes. But to your point, I'm just like, I don't know. Some guys I feel like do just jump, like they just have it, and it's like it does kind of just click once you start. I'm not gonna say jump training, but like when you go from not playing a jumping sport to playing volleyball, those I think I touched like 10-1 my 15th year. And then like by the end of the year, it was 10-8. And I didn't do any jump training. I was just playing volleyball. And then the next year it was like 11. And I was like, this is kind of fun. Like I'm jumping. And then it wasn't even until like near the end of college where I started really thinking about how to jump higher. And like, like feeling my feet push off the ground, and like trying to make an effort of like pushing that ground away from me instead of just like trying to go up and get something. And all those things. It's just find a different way to click for different people. But
it's also crazy to me. Like I love the way that like you have to train or that you're supposed to work out as a volleyball player. Like I'm so happy I'm not like an offensive lineman who has to bench press like 400 pounds. Like it's nice. Like the creativity that comes in like jumping exercises. Like I was like, you guys said the same thing. I think it was my beginning of my sophomore year. We got a new coach. So freshman year, summer, going into my sophomore year. And he said that if you're somebody who plays front row, blocking or attacking, so setters, right sides, middles, the only people who didn't have to do this were liberos. If you did not touch at least 11 foot, you were not allowed to play front row until you touched 11 foot was his rule. Because we were a small up and coming school competing in Division I. So he was like, we need to, like, if we're going to be small, we have to be physical. So that was kind of his mentality of it. And I was like, I think I was at like 10, 11 at this point. I was like, fuck. I was like, damn. And I was like, I've been squatting. I've been doing all this shit. And then I got in the gym with Peter Russell when he was doing some personal like workout sessions for volleyball specific. I was like, dude, like, let me jump in when you're here. Like, I'll come and I'll do some stuff. And he was like, yeah, for sure. And he would get me on the Vertimax like 3 times a week. And the Vertimax was sick for me. I would love to get back on one, but obviously there's other ways to do it. But the Vertimax was a big turner for me. It put like 5 inches on over that summer alone.
Yeah. Yeah. I like you said, it's all about that creativity. It's finding what works for you. You know, all of our bodies are different, right? The one exercise isn't always going to be the best for me as it is for either of you guys. So, yeah. I'm not a guy that likes deep squats. It's just it's too far down. It hurts my knees, hurts my back. I can't do it. So, and I don't really like squatting in general. Trap bar deadlifts are my bread and butter right now. You know, it relieves the stress off your back, off your lower back. You can still throw a little bit of weight around. You can still move it fast if you need to. You can throw a jump in it if you need to. And that's what really helped with my knee stability. And that's what got rid of a lot of knee pain for me was just taking that load off my back and kind of just putting it in my hands versus on top of my neck.
I'm a big trap bar guy too. I love that thing.
It was just
for tall guys especially, I feel like the trap bar just helps just close the distance of very uncomfortable center of gravity.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you on that. And for sure, to your point, like it's very different for everybody. Everyone's got very different bodies, and there is anyone that's like, oh, this is the exercise you need to do, and you need to do it this way. It's like, no, it's not. Like that could be useful, but there's no one fix all answer in really any capacity fitness wise.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, moving a little bit forward. So you go to Carthage D3. You guys had some pretty wild season, like you said, 27-1. Like, walk us a little bit through like the D3 experience and going through that, and then maybe your transition to pro from there.
Yeah, I thought Division III was great. Obviously, you're not dedicating as much time to the sport as you would in a Division I capacity, especially during preseason. Like during preseason, we're only allowed 15 total practices and 1 exhibition day, and that's it. And during preseason, you're not allowed to have a volleyball meeting with another player or with a yeah, with any other players, because that's considered a volleyball meeting. You can have an academic meeting, you can have a personal meeting, but you just can't talk about volleyball. So it's kind of a wake up for me coming back into this atmosphere. But no, I loved playing for Division III. It kind of reminded me back when I was playing. It kind of reminded me of the Danish league a little bit. You could get some really top-notch teams like Springfield and New Paltz and Juniata and us, and now Dominican and Benedictine and North Central are all popping up too. But then you also could run into some teams that are fairly new, that just young and small, and you just run kind of right through them. But no, I loved every second of it here. Great people. LJ Marks, the guy who started the program and who unfortunately stepped away, did a great job. He set a great standard here at Carthage. We're built on, the thought that working hard is the main priority. We're here to enjoy what we do, but we're not here to mess around. Like we have a goal, and that's to win national championships, because we know we can. We just did it, so we know we can keep doing it. So it's just showing up every day, having that same grinder mentality. If it's a bad day, if it's a shit day, make it your best shit day you got. But otherwise, leave it all on the floor.
That's a great mentality. I think I don't know how much I've talked about it recently, just because it was a big obstacle for coaching high school this year. But I just don't. It's very hard for me to understand the concept of like, let's play for fun. I'm like, okay, well, how do you just play for fun? Like, how does that work? How do you just have a good time only from practice into a match? Because if you're only having fun in practice, then typically the result is not very fun in matches, because you're not necessarily doing the right drills they're not fun drills, but like you need to lock down the fundamentals. You need to like build the strength. It's not a fun process to get better. It's being better. That's the fun process, and then being able to perform at a high level. And I just love that. That's how you guys are doing it. It's just grind. Just get after it. Work as hard as you can, and you're gonna love the results. And yeah, it's not fun to grind, but when you're done with it, it's such a rewarding process and feeling. And that's really what it's all about.
So doing, for example, we're really stressing high ball out of system setting this year, and we want to put it in the certain spot, and we want it there every single time. And it is the most boring thing to practice, and I get it. I've done it for years, but it is the most necessary. Anybody can put a ball away in system, but if you can put a ball away in out of system, that changes the game. So it's that's something we've been focused on, and the guys just don't get it. And so finally we had to sit them down and be like, listen, guys, like it's not fun, but it pays off. During matches, when we're playing sixes, you focus on this part of the drill, it makes the game so much more fun, so much more enjoyable to play. So yeah, it's just a quick example of something that we.
It's also like one of the most satisfying things in volleyball. Like I feel like I'm weird in terms of things that like satisfy me in terms of like excitement and exciting plays. Like bounce balls, obviously everybody gets like pumped about, but like when you have like a libero that like sprints to the end court off of a block touch and like rips it back, and your middle throws up like a shit out of system set, but you get a kill on it. Like everybody's celebration is way more aggressive than like you're outside that thudded 1 5-foot line. So like whenever I hear like out of system, I agree the training does suck, but like when they're in system and you dig a ball and then you get an out of system kill, it's like the most disrespectful thing you can do. It's like, that was your best and you didn't score, and we were in our worst and we did score. It's like, so I love that outlook.
That's why we took home a bronze medal in the Bundesliga last year. We out-blocked, we out-defended, we out-grinded teams. We obviously weren't Berlin or Friedrichshafen having this huge salary that could pay these awesome players to come in. We still had awesome players, but we still had great players. But we played as one unit in our system. We didn't let other teams beat us. We controlled the game, and so that was so fun to be a part of, for sure.
It's an amazing thing when a team is all on the same page and you come together and just like that understanding of like, I'm just gonna be relentless. I'm not gonna let a ball fall. I'm gonna go after it. Everything's effort. It's such a rare thing to find teams like that. And I thought, I was spoiled in high school because my high school team had it pretty together. 12 seniors out of a 15 team roster, and then I went to college and I figured, oh, we'll have it even more together. Like going to Penn State, yeah, like everyone's going to be on board to just like win a national championship.
Yeah.
No, not the case. And I've talked to guys in the USA gym. Even then, it's like there's still people that just like don't seem to, like get it all together and like be on board and fully invested. And I was like, dang, that's crazy. Like even at the highest level, there's still teams that just like don't have the same kind of connection and just there's just all in mentality.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before, that especially over in Europe, like it's even harder to find that, because some of these guys that are getting paid, by the time, with how long the season is, by the time you roll around to February or March, they're like, man, how many more losses until I can like grab my last check and like get my flight home? Like they're not worried at all about placement. They're worried about like putting up their numbers and getting their ticket home as soon as possible.
Yeah. Fortunately, I've heard absolute horror stories about all of that. Fortunately, I haven't really come across too many of that personally. Yeah, I've been fairly lucky with my teammates and everybody kind of buying into the system and understanding that the only way we're going to win is that system. But you're right. I've definitely heard some horror stories of some guys kind of just throwing in the towel early and saying, screw this. Just I'm going to show up to practice. I'll show up to games. You keep paying me, and then I'm going. So,
yeah, man.
It's actually a good segue into a topic I wanted to bring up last episode probably as well, but it's a good segue into a topic I've wanted to talk about, and I'm sure we've touched on in the past, but just like being a foreign player, like a USA player and one of those gyms, and like being able to find out like what your role is, and is it something that like you can be okay with? And let me expand on that. Like you want to be a leader over there, or at least for me, I was a captain on a lot of the teams I've been on. So then having to go over there and just kind of having to be a player where I have to rebuild the rapport of I know what I'm talking about, or like my efforts there. So like lead by example type thing. And especially in Romania, like they just didn't care at all. If I ever had to say anything, they're like, it's not how it is here. I'm like, damn, but we're losing a lot. So maybe we should try something else. So have you guys been able to like make an impact, as a foreign player on your teams? And what were some ways that you managed to make like good positive impacts? And what were some of the like obstacles when you were trying to settle into the role that was kind of there for you?
Yeah. So going into Estonia for my first season, that was a whole new experience for me. So I didn't come in even with the mentality.
What team did you go to, by the way, real quick? I played there for a year.
Sarma.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it was just be a sponge, just soak up everything I can. I was a captain as well my senior year at back here at Carthage. So I went from kind of a captain and the go-to guy, and then immediately got thrown into like the last guy and on the totem pole, and just like, what am I doing? What's happening? So that was a big eye opener for sure. But I took that experience, and the previous year at Carthage, I took that experience as well and ran with it. So once I got to Denmark, we had a very young Danish core group of guys. And then I was the oldest foreigner as well. So I was the oldest guy on the team. I had the most experience of just talking about playing in college volleyball, and then having that little stint of time in Estonia as well. I probably had a little bit more, not as much experience as the Australian foreign guys I played with. But like you said, you just lead by example. I took that Carthage mentality of never giving up on any play, of just grinding it out, and kind of threw that into my new experience in Denmark. And the Danish guys loved it. The other foreign guys loved it. And fortunately, they voted me captain my first year there, which was very proud.
Phenomenal, dude. That's phenomenal.
Yeah. And so, they had my back for everything, especially through that tough first season when I had to go home. It was a tough year for me personally. My girlfriend had passed away, so I kind of suddenly, and so I flew back as quick as I can, and every guy in the team, I knew they had my back and I had theirs. So that was very cool, and to be a part of that experience, which is why I came back again. And then the second season we had a bit more struggles with the captainship role. You know, it's the second year in Denmark, and as an American and an Australian coach and another Australian captain, we're trying to learn the Danish culture. The Danish culture is they're very kind of passive. You know, they're not in your face. You know, as like the traditional American stereotype might be. Not very loud. They're very passive. They're great listeners, great thinkers, and then they'll give you, if they talk to you, they speak something, they tell you something purposeful. So if it comes out of their mouth, it's not a let's go, we're all right. It's something purposeful. And so that was a big obstacle to overcome, was like, how do we effectively communicate with each guy on the team? Because like we talked about earlier, each body is different, you know. It's the same with people. It's each mind is different. The way people think is different with each person. And so you have to communicate differently with different people. And especially in a foreign country, when your coach isn't even from that country and you don't speak their language, it gets a bit difficult at times. We had a couple of tough conversations, but we did get through, got to the end. So that was a big eye opener, and that's something that, you know, I'll take to the day I die. Is, you know, you understand that people are different, and you have to roll with the punches, and you can't just expect people to understand what you're saying all the time. You need to, you know, make sure you communicate in different and effective ways.
Yeah, I think it's sick to have you on, since you were also in the Danish league. Like, I love being able to talk to somebody who's been in that league, because like, I mean, just like any league, like you guys were both in Estonia's league. Like, I wouldn't know anything about Estonian's league, but like not many people I know. Like when I was there was no other American in the Danish league. So I was like out to dry. And then like me and you would shoot messages, and I saw the video when you played my team the year before. And like, so it was cool to catch up with that. But yeah, I 100% agree with your breakdown of the Danish culture, because I was going to run the same thing by you, because there was the club that I played for, Vico Vesterland, has like a very big youth crew and like group as well. They're huge in youth volleyball. So I used to see a bunch of that, and they would ask us to like help out at some of the camps and whatever. So I would go to those, and like the youth like perspective is so much different, like astronomically different than in the US. Like it is 100% like screw around time and like whatever. And like, there's no seriousness to it. And like I'm not going to say they don't have respect for the coaches, but like their priority is not like listening and abiding by what's said. Like they're there for their 2 hours of having fun. And that's just in the youth, but you can see that kind of transpire in some of the older guys. When I was there, I mean, I was lucky as well. I was fortunate to have a really good club and a bunch of guys that I really, really enjoyed. And I still talk to like 90% of them, like all the time. I watch their games and stuff. I love them. They work super hard. We had some guys that were like crazy work ethic and things like that. But there were also, like you said, times with that culture where it's very passive, that it was, and versus American. And a lot of people know my background of, I have like a military upbringing. I was getting yelled at all the time. Like if I didn't do dishes, it was like an ass whooping and like 10 push-ups, and I was getting yelled at. So that was always how like I approach things. And some of the guys responded really well to it, because there were a few times where I really let it out over there. But there were other guys who, I mean, I don't think they responded poorly to it, but they just didn't care. They were like, all right, he's like, let him have his little burst or whatever. But like, I mean, I remember our first meeting, I didn't know a single person yet. Like this was literally my first day there that I was out of quarantine, and they were talking about goals, and like people were like, oh, we want to finish like top 5 in the league, because you knew where our club was ranked before. Well, like they weren't top of the league. They weren't against Tofta or anything like that. So they're trying to climb their way up. And I knew nothing about the Danish league or our team. And I basically like called everybody out and said that it was bullshit, that we wanted to take like 4th or 5th. I was like, I didn't fly over here to take like 4th or 5th. Like we need to be aiming for 1st. And a lot of the guys loved it, but other guys didn't. Yeah, the cultural difference over there is definitely something you got to adjust to, and just with each group of guys that you play with. But I wouldn't change anything in Denmark at all. I loved all the players and the coaches, and I had the same thing. Like I had a family that I got really close with, and they're actually going to come all the way to Germany tomorrow to come and watch me play in Germany. And they're like going to be at my wedding this summer. They're going to fly over. Like I love the Danish culture. I can't speak more highly of them. Like my setter is going to come to Berlin for New Year's Eve. So I absolutely love my time over there, but I agree completely. Like you really gotta, it's a big adjustment because in the US, it's like, that's just kind of what's demanded of you, no matter what gym you're in, that's the expectation. And over here, there's different ways to approach it.
That's a very real thing. Like there are definitely a lot of pro teams in a lot of different countries that want to be middle of the pack. And that blows my mind. I'm like, what are you talking about?
No.
So anyone that's listening that is considering going to play pro, that's a question I would ask, like up front. Like, are you guys trying to compete for one of the top spots in the league? Or are you not? Like realistically, is that a goal of the team? Don't be afraid to ask that. Because if it's not, like, and being a champion or like a winning mentality or just anything like that is something that's important to you, don't go to that team. Because I got to Romania and I was like, wait, what? Like you don't want to be first. Like they would actually say that, like they don't want to. And I'm like, well, how did I end up here? Like, why did I decide to go to this gym and this team? Because they don't even want to move out of the middle of the pack. They just don't want to be in the bottom. I'm like,
as long as they're not relegating, they're happy.
Yeah, exactly.
If you get relegated,
like,
they're happy. Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's nuts. But well, I wanted to see more about you with Denmark because, like I said, I was there. And I know Nordenskjold and all that. How'd you like that area? Because I know it's kind of middle of nowhere. How'd you manage with that? Because you guys had cars, right? Did they have cars?
Yeah. Yeah, we had 2 cars that the club gave to the 4 of us international guys to split up. And it was in a town of 800 people. And it was the local gas station, grocery store, post office, hardware store was right down the street from us. So didn't really, and we got half off at the grocery store because they were a sponsor. So that was,
I heard about that. Yeah.
Huge, which is awesome. But no, we got to travel around a little bit. Went down to Hamburg for New Year's, went to Copenhagen a few times and hung out there. We're right near the coast. So when the weather was good, we would go to the coast and go walk around, and even went swimming one time, which was brutally cold. Oh my God. But no, it's a beautiful country, the little southwestern part of Denmark that we're in. So I loved it. Everybody in the town knew who we were. Despite only 300 to 400 people coming to our games, they were everybody was loud. People were cheering. There's a lot of excitement for us. And so that was the big thing for me that made me want to come back for a second year, was just, we had so much support, win or lose, doesn't matter. We've got big smiles and high fives and hugs after games. And there was really no pressure. The club knew that we were good, right? They knew, they brought us in for a reason, and they invited us to come back for that same reason. We played well together and we were good. So, they knew that we would eventually succeed. When they brought us in for the first year, they talked about a process. This is something that they wanted. It's a process that they want to build a strong Danish program, but they need the help of some international players to get them there. So my first season was their first year in the top league. So we didn't really know what we were doing. The club didn't really know what we were doing. We were kind of just winging it, and it was working. And then the second season, it went even better. So I've nothing but respect and happiness and love for all the people in Nordenskjold. They'd probably get mad at me for the way I just pronounced it, but it's just they're the sweetest, kindest people. And shout out Emil Brickboy. I know he'll probably be listening to this, but he might be coming to America for a month or two. So this summer coming up. So hopefully he'll be able to come to Wapaka, which I'm stoked about.
Who? What's his last name?
Brick, B-R-I-K. He was the backup center for Nordenskjold last year. He's loving to death. Yeah, I love everybody on the team, but Brick Boy he's a character. He's an animal.
I love that name, Brick Boy. That's awesome. So what about so you say that you got into Lunenburg, total like random call. It's got to be weird to get like you're getting a job in an apartment and then you get a call from one of the top leagues in Europe. Like, I feel like that's a very rare case. So like, take us a little bit through that, you know? Because like, it's not easy just to get a call from, like, some guys would kill to be on that team or get that call, and you weren't even looking for it, and you found it.
So the year prior, so in between my 2 seasons in Denmark, after the first one, was told by my agent that they were looking for an outside. So my film was sent over there, and they knew who I was. Funny enough, my good buddy Mike Miklau ended up getting that spot over me, and happy for the dude. The dude is an absolute baller. So, and he did really well there, and he loved it.
Is that how you pronounce his last name, Miklau?
Miklau, yeah.
I've been saying it McClue for like a year. Shit. But all right, sorry, continue. We had talked about him last time, and I said Mike McClue. Miklau. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Miklau.
Cool.
Yes. So he's a good buddy. We always talk about volleyball together. We were in the same graduation class, like with Matt. And so, you know, we played against each other a ton, and we kind of both have this kind of chip on our shoulder dog mentality about being kind of undersized outsides, playing in some big time games. So we've always kind of had that bond together, which has been super awesome. So he played there during my second season in Denmark. And then another good friend of mine was supposed to play at Lunenburg. He had signed, but then he had knee surgery. He blew his knee out in the season prior and was having knee surgery to fix it. Signed, realized his knee wasn't holding up the way he wanted to, and he just decided to cut the contract. And then they gave me a call, and it's just the way the world works sometimes. I feel bad for him. He's a good dude. But he just couldn't take his knees, just couldn't take it anymore. And you know, like you said, when you get that opportunity and somebody starts knocking and starts asking about it, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say no. You know, Lunenburg was it's a club very similar to like when I was in Denmark, where I was in Denmark. It's kind of a smaller market team with crazy awesome fans, great people surrounding the club, good coaches, good coaching staff, great trainers. So, you know, it's like I just literally moved 3 hours south, you know, because where Nordenskov is and where Lunenburg is, it's literally 3.5 hours south of each other. And it's like nothing really changed. The language changed, but you know, otherwise I was in a very similar area with very similar people, you know, who treated me with respect and, you know, took care of me.
Are you the tiniest bit sad that new facility wasn't built last year?
I don't even want to talk about it.
That's a yes.
Because I just saw the debut of that in their match that they played, and that thing is fucking nuts, man. Mm-hmm. That's like a real modern ass. I don't mean to put salt in the wound, but that thing looks sick.
No. I knew this was gonna happen. But
it's just an incredible facility.
Man, it's so nice compared to the shit they were in before.
Yeah, that is. We were in a middle school before, practicing and playing matches in a middle school.
Dude, that's another thing that's not rarely talked about, but like pro teams don't ever own their own gyms, like ever. Like even Berlin Recycling, the highest, richest team in the whole place, they don't own any of their gyms.
Yeah,
it's like
these sponsors, but yeah, I've definitely played in some like elementary school in Romania a couple of times. Definitely.
You know, you kind of take what you can get, especially in the smaller market leagues and the small market teams. You know, you kind of put all your money towards getting new players and making sure they're healthy and insurance and all that kind of stuff. And so then, unfortunately, what gets kind of put on the back burner is sometimes the facilities, which sometimes it works out because in Denmark, we had a wonderful little facility despite being in a really small town. And nothing bad against where Lunenburg facilities that we're at in the Gellersenhalle. They did everything that we need. We had everything that we needed there. Just the ceiling was a bit low. That's the one thing that we got. That we had a little bit of home field advantage. So we bomb jump serves and hit balls, and teams would get super pissed off because they throw them up in the rafters. Like Berlin came in, and I remember one of the first serves or one of the first free balls, the libero shot that thing up in the ceiling, and as soon as he hit it, he just looked up. Like in Berlin, there's endless space in Berlin.
So massive.
Yeah.
Also, this is actually something that just came to mind when you said that I'd like to get your take on. So back when you were in Lunenburg last year, I was in Denmark. I was keeping up with most of the leagues in the area, at least. And I know that, like, especially now that I'm here in Germany, like you said, there's like Friedrichshafen and BR, which are just like crazy loaded. Like, you guys are all in the same league, but it's very different in terms of budget and the way that the clubs ran. And it's like you go to a BR game and then you go to Lunenburg, not anymore because they're a nice ass facility, but like a Netzhopper game where it's really small, it's like a huge difference. Like, what was it like when you got to finally go play in Berlin? And I saw a clip of you like housing Ben Patch. What is it like to go from like Carthage D3, where like a lot of people, and we've always been like huge fans of D3, and that's why we were stoked to get you on, because like we always praise that there's crazy good players in D3 and it gets underappreciated. What's it like to go from being one of those guys that didn't get recruited to Lewis or Loyola, and then next thing you know, you're on like Volley World Network because you're shit housing Ben Patch on like a backball? Like, that's got to be like a crazy like feeling or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It didn't really hit me in the game or after the game because we lost in 5 and kind of a pretty heartbreaking loss. And looking at the stats, we should have won, but we just kind of threw it away at the last minute. But then a couple of days later, like I keep seeing the video circling around social media, and I was like, damn, all right. It's like, this is, I took a lot of pride in that, just
Pretty fucking cool, yeah.
Yeah, where I came from, being a very under-recruited senior in high school. I'm pretty sure Carthage, nothing against LJ. I love the man. I don't think he really wanted me very much. I kind of just told him I was coming and I was an athlete. I was kind of an asshole in high school. I was not a good teammate. And I learned that very quickly, that you need to be a good teammate. So I picked, I went from literally the lowest of low my freshman year. And then, I grinded out 3 years on the bench and then got my opportunity in a senior year, and I took it, and it's taken me around the world. And so I'm super proud of what I've done. I'm not going to ever take anything back for anything I've done. I've got all my medals here sitting next to me on my desk. So, I'm having a bad day, I just take a look over and be like, this is why I do it. I love the game, and I want to, now it's my opportunity to help kids get to where they want to go, whether it's they want to go play pro, whether it's they want to find a really good job, whether it's they want to be an All-American, whether they just want to get better at passing. Doesn't matter. This is what I'm here to do. Here to help.
Well, I think they're in good hands, man. That's for sure. Anyone that's got Will Craft coaching them, they're a lucky kid. That's all I got to say.
I appreciate it, man. It's fun. I didn't think I'd like it, but I really do like it.
I didn't think I'd like it either. And then I took like a coaching class in college, and I was like, dang, there's something about this coaching thing. It's kind of fun. And then I started coaching. I was like, yeah, I could get used to this.
Yeah.
It's not easy. A hard job. Definitely a hard job. At any level, high school, up, there's a bunch of different challenges that you'll face, but it's really fun. And it's nice to be able to stay in the sport that like meant so much to you and gave you so much.
Yeah.
I agree. I always thought it was cool. I don't think my mom necessarily agrees with the fact that it's as cool as I think it is. She was always like, go do accounting. That way you can make like a fat check and take care of your family. But I mean, she understands it. I always have funny conversations with her because they grew up not having much, and she had to like work a ton and like crazy jobs. So she's like, you have a chance to get a college degree and get like a job with benefits. Like, do it. And I'm like, I have that degree. I'm actually not going to use it at all. And I'm going to try to like be a coach, maybe in college, or maybe start a club. And it's probably going to be pretty not lucrative at the beginning. She's like, great. I love it.
Man, I learned very quickly that, money isn't everything, man. It's a short, we got a short life here, I'm not going to waste it sitting at some desk doing some data analysis stuff. I get a call to do something cool, I'm going to go do it. That's what I've come to learn over these long 28 years I've lived. It's just, let's make it a good one.
Yeah, dude. I think being able to do something like that, like, I understand that there's a lot of guys who like played for a while and they play pro and they're like, man, I just want to get out of the volleyball world. Like, I want to do something fine. And I totally get that. Like, because that's something they've never tasted before or even tried. And like, so in their eyes, it's like new and fresh to them. And like, maybe they won't like it and they'll turn back to volleyball or whatever. But dude, if you can like literally get paid for your whole life and set up your whole family by like talking about volleyball and passing a ball and hitting it, like that's the coolest fucking thing in the world. Like that's so cool. Like and like doing something like that, you meet so many people. Like you're gonna like if you're coaching Will for like the next 20 years, like you're gonna meet or coach some like future like legendary players or legendary coach. It's like you get to meet so many cool people in different perspectives, and especially in volleyball, which we talk about all the time, how cool of a world volleyball world is because it's small but it's getting big. Dude, there's so many like wild, like cool people that like I've never even heard of, and I meet them. I'm like, how the fuck have I not heard of you? Like, you're so different and cool. I'm like, this is sick. So I feel like, I think that's the coolest job in the world. One that you like, I guess.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not I wouldn't really call it a job. You know, you don't. What do they say? You don't work a day in your life if you love what you do. So, you know, man, when I got that first direct deposit from Europe, I was like, you know what? I'm looking at my phone and I was like, damn, I made it. Like I'm getting paid to pass it and hit a volleyball.
Yep.
Like that was the coolest thing in the world to me. You know, growing up, I love Sammy Sosa and I'm a Packer fan, so I love Brett Favre.
Go, baby.
But like just idolizing all these guys that were so good at what they did that people wanted to pay them money to play a sport. I thought that was the coolest thing. And, you know, so I got the call and I was like, I can't pass it up. I've quit 3 jobs to go play pro overseas. And the one other piece of advice is that if you do have a job and you get a call to go play overseas, do it. Just go. The company will not be mad. You tell your boss, listen, I've got this opportunity. Someone is paying me to fly to Europe to play volleyball. They'll tell you, get out of here. Go. Have the time of your life, especially if you're a young kid. You know, you just don't be afraid to be honest with your boss and with yourself. Like, you want to do it. If you find something you want to do, go do it. Especially.
Absolutely. Yeah. We don't, like you said, man, like life is short. You never know when that opportunity is just gone off the table for good. So don't let it slip off the table.
Yeah, exactly. You can't, you know, it'll take you to crazy places.
When you do get that first check and you're like, actually like, damn, I'm professional. And in volleyball, as all three of you, or as you guys know, it's not a fat check that you're getting deposited in that first month. But when you're able to like support yourself in an apartment, buy your groceries comfortably, pay for your gas, get like a flight for New Year's if you're lucky enough to get that little vacation time, it's like, damn, dude, this is, and like you said, like, I feel like everybody growing up, I swear to God, like the generational gap is so weird. Cause I swear to God, every single person in their 40s or 50s that have kids right now, absolutely none of them ever had money. None of them have a college degree. None of them ever left the US, because that's always the story you hear, right? Walked uphill both ways to school, like that kind of story. Yeah. And I'm like, that's bullshit. It's like now, I'm like, no way. There's definitely people that have, obviously. But when I think back to that, like, and I'm sure, I don't know how your guys' parents were, but my parents were those cliche, you know, we didn't have much, and they truly didn't, which is fair. But like, whenever I think back to it, when I got out of college, I was doing the back injury. I got my first real job to like, I had to pay bills, but I couldn't go and accept my first contract. So I was like, shit. And my parents really didn't get those opportunities. My parents never been to Europe. And I'm like, if I'm getting like, they're going to pay for my flight to go there and then give me month to month. Like, I'm like, dude, that just seems crazy. And like, the trips that you can do and the places you can go. And like, it's like, dude, your family or people in your past have never even left the country or some never even left their state. It's like, to be able to get that shot and do it. It's like, as long as I have enough to like have food in my pantry, like I'll do it for at least a couple of years.
Yeah. It's really, like you said, it's an incredible experience that not a lot of people get, you know? And so it's something that, you know, if you do get that opportunity, take it. You know, you don't know if it's going to be good or if it's going to be bad quite yet, but you know, at least you did it. You know, you're out there, you're seeing some parts of the world that a lot of people that, you know, probably will not or may not ever see.
Do you have any wild overseas stories? This is one that we've asked before, and we've had some really good ones.
Yeah, I do.
You gotta think about which ones are okay to say or something.
Yeah,
we're pretty open here.
I mean,
as long as you're comfortable.
We all know it.
As long as you're comfortable putting it out, we're not picky here. We're
He's a coach at college. You got to be careful.
Yeah, I know. I work at college now. I can't speak. I can't spill too many beans here. No, it was a good night in Amsterdam, and I missed my train to Brussels the next day and had to buy another train ticket at the gate. Luckily, there was another train coming from Amsterdam to Brussels like 2 hours later. Finally get on that in my own train car by myself, not feeling the greatest, naturally. And all of a sudden, the loudest and largest family I've ever seen fully surround me. In my like, there's empty cars everywhere, and they decide to fully surround me and speaking Italian for 3 hours. And I put my headphones in, and I could hear them through the headphones. I couldn't sleep. Just stared straight ahead for 3 hours.
Was this in Germany or was this in Denmark?
This was on my way home after my first season in Denmark, because after the season ended, me and then 2 other Australian players from the team, we flew to Prague. Then from Prague, flew to Amsterdam. Then they went back to Australia from Amsterdam. Then from Amsterdam, I took a train to Brussels and then flew from Brussels to Reykjavik. And then flew back to Chicago from Reykjavik. And that is and I did that all for money that I saved in my first season in Denmark. Even though I was making nothing, I saved up enough to pay for all these flights to get out there. And everything's cheap. Even to go to Iceland. Iceland is in the middle of nowhere. Once you're there, the things are expensive there, but to get there, it's not that bad. And it is the most beautiful place I've ever seen in my entire life.
It's crazy. It is crazy how cheap it is over here. I'm booking tickets to Italy, and I just looked today, and it was like €103 for a round trip. I was like, that's so nice.
Yeah. Oh, it's ridiculous in the US to travel. I don't know why it's so expensive.
Oh yeah. I was just in North Carolina for a wedding and was thinking about flying home because my buddy and I, we were camping after, and trying to fly from Asheville or Knoxville to Chicago was like $300, $400. Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, pretty. I mean, I wish I had just like a bunch of time and freedom to be able to like travel, because there's like little flights you can get that are super random that I feel like are super cheap. But anytime, apparently, whenever I want to go, it's not cheap to go. I guess so. Got a vacation somewhere else, I guess.
Road trips, man. Road trips.
Yeah. Oh, I love road trips. Yeah. All right. Well, you guys have any closing thoughts here?
I'm all good. I think I've asked pretty much as I can or think of, but I mean, if we got anything else, Will, you got anything you want to send off on or anything like that?
I just want to say thanks again, guys. This is a good time. Miss you both. Both you are such great people, and I don't see you guys enough. So good luck the rest of the season, Brandon. Matt, we'll be catching up shortly. I forgot you're still in the Chicago area, so we got to link up and do something.
Yeah, dude, I actually might hop in the Dominican gym a little bit, so maybe I'll see you guys in some matches this upcoming year.
Might find you around. Don't make them too good. They're still a rival.
No, either way, man, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it. Appreciate having you come on such short notice, and we've been wanting to get you on for a while, and especially you sporting 4-4 out at Wapaka, and we posted that clip of you serving. Like, we're definitely going to be putting out a lot more stuff and trying to get a lot more. So good luck in the VLA stuff this summer. I'll definitely catch you at the Cup when I get back, if you'll be there. Yeah. I'm already planning my trip, so maybe we can catch up out in old Angola.
I can't wait.
But again, thanks, man. We appreciate you coming on.